Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices is made possible in part by Allstate and the Searle Funds at the Chicago Community Trust.
Good evening y bienvenidos to Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices. I'm Michael Puente, reporter with WBEZ Chicago. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us on the show tonight. Calls for more resources to fight gun violence following the fatal shooting of 8-year-old Melissa Ortega in Little Village. The city says more than 4,000 people are living on Chicago's streets, but advocates for the homeless say the problem could be much worse. A mural in Irving Park brings brilliant bloom to the city's snowy streets.
It's not a party, you know? It's not a party if you don't have a piñata.
And a Rogers Park shop owner whose custom crafted piñatas are a smashing success with her customers. First off tonight, the fatal shooting of 8-year-old Melissa Ortega in Little Village is putting a spotlight on the city's troubling gun violence. Ortega was crossing the street with her mother when police say she was shot by 16-year-old Emily Coripio. Prosecutors say the teenager was shooting at rival gang members. 27-year-old Javier Guzman was also arrested. He's alleged to be the getaway driver. Both Guzman and Coripio are facing first-degree murder charges. In a statement, Ortega's mother, Araceli Liano, says, "I forgive you. You were a victim too. As a 16-year-old, the community failed you, just like it failed my precious baby. Although I do hope that in the many years you spent in prison, you get time to reflect on your actions because you took away the most valuable thing I had in my life." Despite the swift arrest, some community groups say their calls for more resources to address violence have gone unheard. Joining us now with more are Ana Solano, an organizer for the community organization Unete La Villita, and Baltazar Enriquez, president of the community-based organization Little Village Community Council. Thank you both of you for joining us here today on Latino Voices. Well, Baltazar, what would justice for Melissa Ortega look like to you?
I mean, to us, there is no justice because this is not something that we look for justice. Here we look for solutions. How do we prevent this? So for us is how can we prevent this, another senseless murder? So we've been asking for years now that a mental health clinic be put here in Little Village. And the community is traumatized. So we need a mental health clinic to help them deal with this trauma. And this trauma has been for generations now. So you have generations of trauma, and the only way they find a way to resolve their issues is by getting even or going out there and commit cathartic crimes where they enjoy killing each other now. So we have a mental issue when they're enjoying to kill each other, and therefore we're asking that our politicians, especially Chuy Garcia, comes and help us open a mental health clinic.
Well, Ana, in this case, the alleged shooter was reportedly firing at rival gang members and hit bystanders. Mayor Lightfoot said there's a fear in Little Village that, quote, gangs have taken over. Do you feel like that's the case?
I am aware that there are gangs in our neighborhood, but I think that it's a deeper issue than that. I think we have a poverty problem, and it's not due to some moral failing of our own, but systemically, you know, we're getting under-resourced. They're closing our mental health clinics. I agree with Baltazar that those resources are really, really needed.
Well, Baltazar, how can the community and the city address this gang problem?
Well, the way we could address it is by the police department becoming more of a community policing and not a tactical military police. So when the community solved this crime, the police department played a role, but the community is the one that spoke out and said, no, this is what happened, and here's the video. So the community solved the problem. So we know how to police ourselves. So what we're missing is a community policing department and not a military policing department, as the mayor has threatened to send citywide police officers that are very disrespectful. They're very ostentatious. All they do is draw their gun, shoot first, ask questions later. We do not need more killing. We need police officers that understand the community, know the community, and they are from the community. So that will be a solution to reduce the crime.
Well, Ana Solano, police have flooded the area after a shooting 2 weeks ago. How do you think CPD should be responding after an incident like this?
I think it's hard to say, first of all, because I respectfully disagree. I don't think that we need more policing in our neighborhood. I think we need more resources. And when I talk about calling for more resources, like the expense of those resources, it's not like some outlandish number. I think that routinely we have seen the city adding more funding to their budget. And, right now their budget is at 1.89 billion. And luckily, some people have done the research, and that could give us 1,250 anti-violence advocates, 400 CPS social workers, 300 CPS school psychologists, and 10 mental health clinics. So I'm not exactly sure what the police should do, but I just know that not all of us feel safer with a stronger police presence. And I would call for allocating those funds towards needed resources.
Well, Baltazar, the teenager charged was on probation for carjackings. Do you think the state's attorney bears any responsibility for Ortega's death?
Yeah, I mean, Kim Fox has failed the county. She's learned to let go criminals when they commit a heinous crime, and she's learned to put them on monitoring. So I think heinous crimes should stay in jail. Minor crimes, they're the ones that should be released. And right now we have people in the county that own child support, or they have a warrant. Those are the people that should be let out, not the heinous crimes. So yeah, Kim Fox is a total failure. Yeah, she didn't even respond to us with the Adam Toledo. She didn't even have an answer for us. So there has to be both responsibilities from the government and also from the community. But here, the government has totally failed the community because they do not send resources. And whenever there's a crime that is being done to us, we stay quiet because we don't trust the police department. We don't trust the government because they have disenfranchised us from participating and being in the system. And some of them come from countries that are very violent and where the government is the aggressor. So they don't want to trust the government at this point, especially when they're coming from countries that are in chaos.
Mm-hmm. Ana Solano, I know you've been a little bit critical of the city and the police response to this, but what responsibility do you assign to parents of juvenile offenders?
I think it's hard to say, but I imagine, generally speaking, parents want the best for their children. So that mom lost a baby too. He's getting tried as an adult. And like Melissa's mother stated, he's a victim too. So I think that this is a systemic failure, and I would call for more community care because, as Baltazar stated, there's been a lot of state negligence, and we know our community best, so I would call for more community care.
Now, Baltazar, we only got about a minute left. What is the one thing you would do right now, one or two things that you think would help reduce gun violence in Little Village right now?
So to us, is number one, the priority is mental health. We're going to open a grassroots mental health clinic here in Little Village, where you don't need to have insurance. Your legal status doesn't matter. You can come in and say, hey, I have a problem, and get the treatment that you need. And second of all, guns are easy to get in our neighborhood. It's easier to get a gun than to get a job. And with the way that, the NRA is always in DC and Springfield lobbying for easier gun laws. And I believe that if we really want to do something, we should then raise up the price on the bullets. So, if you're going to buy a magazine of bullets, it's probably $3,000 for you to buy it. So you can have as many guns as you want, but the ammo is going to be very expensive. So I think that could reduce the violence because the ammo is not that accessible and the ammo is very expensive. So yeah, you can have as much guns as you want, but the ammo will not be something that it will be easy to get.
Okay. Well, our thanks to Baltazar Enriquez and Ana Solano for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Up next, as the temperature drops, what's being done to help people experiencing homelessness? The recent cold and snowy weather is nothing new in Chicago, but for those experiencing homelessness, the weather adds another layer of difficulty to an already punishing situation. This week, the city conducted its annual count of the homeless population, a number that, thanks to the pandemic, is expected to be higher than the 2021 total of nearly 4,500 people. And according to advocates for the homeless, that data may not accurately reflect the actual number of people who lack stable housing. Joining us now with more are Jose Munoz, Executive Director of La Casa Norte, and Nelly Vasquez-Rowland, co-founder and president of a Safe Haven Foundation. Welcome to you, both of you, to Latino Voices.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, Jose Munoz, we'll get started with you first. Do statistics give us an accurate picture of the scope of the need for stable housing, and who is most affected?
Well, no, they don't. I mean, there's a lot of individuals that aren't counted when it comes to homelessness. You have a lot of individuals who are doubling up, staying with family, living out of their car, who don't actually ever walk into a shelter. Before the pandemic began, we estimated there were about 58,000 people who are experiencing homelessness because of this. And those that are impacted the most are always going to be the ones who are already facing poverty before the pandemic began. Mostly the folks that were hit the hardest during the pandemic and have hit the hardest with the issue of homelessness are African American and Latino communities.
Well, Nelly Vasquez-Rowland, can you describe a Safe Haven's motto and how it gets people into housing?
Michael, we've been doing this now for 27 years, and we've never seen it as bad as it is right now in terms of the demand for our services. And at A Safe Haven, what makes us unique is the fact that people can actually walk in the door and get assessed, and in terms of their physical, their education, their employment issues, their housing issues, and they get semi-private accommodations. And we provide all these wraparound services in a way that's coordinated, that's sequential, so that at the end of the day, people that walk into A Safe Haven for whatever reason, including families, can end up with a job and with their own apartment. And just during the pandemic, we actually built over 255 new apartments to continue to meet that exponential demand that we're seeing.
Wow. Jose Munoz, La Casa Norte serves young people facing homelessness. How have their housing situations been affected by the pandemic?
The pandemic really exacerbated an issue that was already a crisis before the pandemic began. And it did two things. In addition to that, it also highlighted the disparities that actually caused the crisis to begin with. That impacted everyone, but youth in particular. When the schools shut down, the services shut down, at the outset of the pandemic, we had a lot of youth that were relying on those services to have a safe place to shelter in place, to be able to put food in their bellies, and so that's continued to be an issue. Right now, we're seeing youth that are coming into our program that are looking for opportunities to find stable housing. We continue to serve youth throughout the communities, throughout the city of Chicago. And we've grown quite a bit, actually. We've gone from serving 5,000 individuals before the pandemic began to over 20,000 individuals through our various programs and services, not just housing, but helping with rental assistance, access to food and clothing and other services.
Well, staying on that, how do you keep up with the demand? And are you facing a worker shortage to just help you get through this time?
Absolutely. Like many organizations, actually every industry right now is facing a shortage of workers. And we're no different. We're having a hard time in continuing to find individuals who are able to serve and work with the population that we're serving. But nonetheless, we continue to work, and with the help of volunteers and individuals and the folks that have stayed committed to our mission and continue to do the work every day, we've continued to be able to service families and communities throughout the city of Chicago, and fortunately been able to expand our reach.
Nelly, how do communities where you have housing respond to your presence there?
Well, the good news is we've had, quite a track record and quite a reputation over the last, many years that we've been in business. So we obviously, do meet with the city council members to make sure that there's going to be the political will and the support. And we invite people from the community when we look at moving into a community to come and see what we're doing and come and visit some of our facilities. And I'm super proud to say that our buildings are absolutely beautiful. They're an asset to the community, and many times, actually become, some of the most beautiful buildings on the blocks, where we win awards for the quality and the beauty and the landscaping. They're professionally managed. So far, we have not seen any resistance throughout the years. And when we did, again, it's just a matter of educating people and helping them understand that the people that we're serving are probably even people that live in those communities already, but now they're actually getting, the right kind of housing that's going to keep them from becoming homeless or falling on hard times in a way they're going to end up living on, on the street. Mm-hmm. So thankfully, we've been having some success. I know that many organizations have been facing major NIMBY issues, and that's unfortunate. But, I do think that, as the public gets to know the organizations, and the success that they have and the need, even within their own communities, that, more people would actually get behind, wanting to build more permanent supportive housing, more transitional housing, more senior housing. And that's the type of housing that we do at A Safe Haven, including veteran housing. So, so to answer your question, so far so good on our end, but I do know it's an issue.
Well, Jose Munoz, we've had some wintry weather already and it's supposed to get cold again. What can people do right now if they're in a housing crisis?
There are a number of things, especially if someone's out there right now who's in need of immediate shelter. The easiest thing to do in Chicago is to dial 311 and get connected to services or a warming center. You could also reach out to La Casa Norte or organizations like the Safe Haven Foundation. We operate housing and shelters and are able to provide them with the resources they need. So if someone is looking for services or would like to get connected to La Casa Norte, they could always find us online at lacasanorte.org or call us at 773-273-4900.
Well, Nelly, we got less than a minute. What do you think government should do to address the need for housing?
Oh, we should absolutely prioritize it. The priority that we're giving to the pandemic is the type of urgency and priority we should be giving to the homeless issue. And as Jose mentioned, this was happening even before the pandemic, and the pandemic has only made it worse. In fact, we introduced a bill, HB 3949. So we're inviting people to call their state legislators and ask them to please support this bill, because by doing this, this bill actually is about elevating homeless providers and organizations to become part of the critical infrastructure. So as you see support coming to hospitals and to nursing homes, we'd like to see that type of support come to homeless organizations as well, since we also are serving the most vulnerable populations in the city of Chicago, in the state of Illinois, that if we weren't here doing the work and our teams weren't on the front lines, we're the only thing keeping them from being on the street. So please, look at that bill, HB 3949, support it. And that will be a major step in making sure that we are truly treating homelessness as a public health issue.
Well, our thanks to Nelly Vasquez-Rowland and Jose Munoz for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back with more Chicago Tonight Latino Voices right after this. Though piñatas are mostly closely associated with Mexican celebrations, over the years the tradition has crossed cultures. Now the colorful, candle-filled characters are a must-have for every kid's birthday party. A Rogers Park woman left a corporate career behind to strike out on her own by offering custom piñatas. She's hoping her handmade creations will be a big hit as people return to gathering in person for parties. Producer Erica Gunderson has the story.
We break them just so we can see what we're creating, and if they're breakable, and if they're too loose or they're too hard.
In the back of her Rogers Park shop, Reina Gonzalez spends hours carefully putting together the party essentials that were born to be broken.
Because you need to get that perfect, because it's for kids. If they can't break it, candy doesn't fall off.
Traditional piñatas aren't hard to find in Chicago, but if you're looking for a design that's a little off the beaten path, Gonzalez says she can craft just about anything in cardboard and crepe.
In the summer, we sell a lot of unicorn. Those are really popular. Batman, Spider-Man, the traditional ones. I've done a duck. I've done Frida, for not to hit, but to display. I've done piñatas for festivals, so like 7 feet, 8 feet.
Like her creations, Gonzalez and her shop have taken a few hits. The former accountant left a 20-year career to strike out on her own in 2018.
I just got tired of the cubicle, the long hours in the desk, emails, the phone calls. So I told my husband, okay, well, there's always parties. There's always a celebration. I think this will be a good business to go into.
But just as the party was getting started,
in 2018, Christmas, it burned. So we were like 21 days in the store, and it just completely gone. We just had to kind of pick up where we left off.
Rebuilding took nearly 2 years, but Gonzalez hung in there. She used the time to teach herself the skill that wound up creating a niche for her store.
We had to start making the parts out of cardboard. So I would have, I'll make the legs, cut them out, make the, fold them, form it, the head, the stomach, make the pieces first and then build it together.
Though Gonzalez admits the timing of Dulceria La Fiesta's comeback could have been better,
we opened right in the middle of the pandemic.
She says social media has helped customers searching for just the right piñata find her.
We've gotten actually a lot of people from Wisconsin, Harvey, Indiana, Waukegan, just for their piñatas, because we can custom make, because it's, we can't find anywhere, my daughter really wants this.
And after a tough couple of years for gatherings, Gonzalez says she's hopeful that people are ready to party again in 2022.
The best feeling is when the kids get so excited when they see it, because they're like, I created that. It's not a party if you don't have a piñata.
For Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, this is Erica Gunderson.
You can find more on Dulceria La Fiesta on our website. Over the past 2 years, an explosion of murals has turned Chicago into a living canvas in themes ranging from thought-provoking social justice commentary to honoring historic figures to expressions of ethnic culture. In 2020, artist Christian Paz created Mi Jardín, a tropically inspired mural bringing some welcome warmth to the Irving Park neighborhood during this wintry weather.
My name is Christian Paz. I'm a local artist from Albany Park area, and this is my mural, Mi Jardín, translates to my garden in English. This whole mural evolves around plants and gardening. My mom is a green thumb, so she's my inspiration for this mural. Plants are very abstract. If you look at them, they're amazing. It has a touch of God's creation into it. The roses represent my mom's. Plumerias represent my children. I have hibiscus plants growing out of the heart right there. My brother's a medical doctor, and he kind of inspired me to start painting hearts. I had to get it correct or else I will hear from him. People really do enjoy it because they can relate to it. A lot of people do garden, even in the city, so it touches dear to a lot of people's hearts. It's very bright and colorful. That's what you get with a lot of Latin American and Mexican folk art. It's those bright, intense colors that one can see and be like, oh, okay, that has a Latin flavor to it, And I think that's just, I don't aim for that, but that's something that just comes to be. I really try to put my heart and soul into each mural. Chicago being my home city, my first love. Anything I put out there has to really reflect my ability and my artistic creativity. Just to be able to contribute, especially in my neighborhood, if it brings somebody a smile, then, mission accomplished.
Paz says he plans to add more to the mural once the weather allows. And we plan to visit more of Chicago's newest murals and the artists behind them throughout 2022. And that's our show for this weekend. Be sure to check out our website, WTTW.com/news, for the very latest from WTTW News. And you'll also find fascinating videos of Lake Michigan's ice balls and pancake ice. Read our story to see what I mean. And if you're watching us on Saturday night, know that you can also catch Latino Voices and Black Voices on Sundays beginning at 10 p.m. And don't forget, you can catch my reporting on 91.5 FM WBEZ. We leave you tonight with a look at the iconic arch over 26th Street in Little Village. The two-story arch designed by architect Adrian Lozano that serves as a gateway to the neighborhood was officially granted landmark status by the City Council this week. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, I'm Michael Puente. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. Stay healthy, stay safe. Buenas noches.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a personal injury law firm pleased to give back to the community through numerous charitable initiatives.